Spaghetti and meatballs. Let's just cut right to the chase. Size matters. I had an art teacher who was very influential in my life. I was very lucky and blessed. They're two different things. To have some very great teachers who really helped change my life. I've had some teachers who tried to destroy me, but I've also had teachers who saved me. They were really great, and Mr. Stone was one of them. So I was 17 years old. I had an art class, art history class, and he was very great, very influential, helped me see things in different ways. And at the end of the semester, he's like, we are going to have to take a painting and you're going to have to replicate it. Now, it's pretty ballsy to ask kids who never even draw, have no experience. But he believed in us so much that he really made us step out of our shells. So we had to pick a painting. I picked one. I picked a Picasso. Now, I love Picasso. I just don't like the people that like Picasso, generally. I think we like it for different reasons. Anyway, I picked one, and it was beautiful. And one of my good friends saw it, and he yanked it out of my hands because he saw how good it was. And also, because the decision was made for him. You know, at my store, when people's customers see an empty spot on my shelf, they say, oh, what was here? They need to know. Why? Because the decision was made for them. They don't want to be in not knowing. So I told my friend, I said, listen, let's not make this to a homicide. Give it back to me, all right? So I took it back. Good thing. And I started. And in between, we had a spring break. I loved the shape so much and the colors so much of this painting that during the spring break, I thought about it. I wanted to go ask the school if I can go in and just take a look at it, right? Because it was still in the process of being done. And then at the end, we had to give a speech of all about it, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Picasso made it of one of his women. He had many women. He wasn't the most loyal guy. And one of his women was called Marie Therese. And she was the only blonde, at least the only blonde that he painted. And she was always depicted sitting or sleeping or stuff like that. Now, this one, hard to find the name of it. But sometimes you'll see it as La Lecture, even though you see other paintings that he made called La Lecture. You see a woman reading. Anyway, I had to replicate it. So I replicated it. And this is my painting. Not bad, huh? Now, when it came time, it was almost done. My teacher comes to me and he goes, now it's time to put the finishing touch. You have to put your signature. This is you. This is the most important part. This is it. So I go, yeah, no problem. So I go right up to it. He goes, no, wait. Think about it. Think. Calm down. Think. Where does it belong? It's got to be aesthetically pleasing. You can't just put it anywhere. So I thought about it. And I realized the top left corner, there was empty space. Let me fill out aesthetically. Let me balance it out. Now, whatever flaws I have some talents. And some of my talents happen to be matching things, colors, clothing, wine with food. I just happen to be very, very good at it. So I made it where it was aesthetically pleasing, where it made sense aesthetically. Nobody's more of a master than aesthetics than the Italian people. I mean, you look at everything they do. They're the worst when it comes to bureaucracy and corruption and efficiency. But when it comes to aesthetics, they literally created it. So where does this fit in with spaghetti and meatballs? If someone had a pasta and tomato sauce, right? And then all of a sudden someone came and they said, I'm going to add meatloaf. I'm going to add watermelon, Snickers, and candy bars. I think everybody in the world would be like, whoa, that's disgusting. Don't do that. I don't think there's anybody who would say that that's good. Really, nobody. So what does that mean? That means that that clearly indicates that there's a line to be drawn. Where is that line drawn? Who draws that line? And what qualifies a person to draw that line? Right? So that means someone could do it. That means I'm able to comment. The reason why I'm saying is that people are really stuck on certain things. And God forbid you have a different opinion. They go nuts. They get so angry and they don't want to hear any of it. Well, this is why I want to cut to the chase, that size matters. Now, spaghetti meatballs in Italy, they don't eat it as we know it. I never ate it. Let's start with meatballs. Meatballs in America are generally oversized. They're very big. To make it worse, they're usually not made with bread. They're made with just meat. So that means they're a little heavier. It's hard to make meatballs soft if you're not adding bread, and soft and fluffy. Essentially, what Italians call meatball polpetta, if you make it a polpettone, a big meatball, you make a meatloaf. American meatballs are almost like meatloaf. So They put these big things on already what's usually overcooked noodles, and you have these lifeless spaghetti, and they go, oh my God, please, and they're so limp. And then you put this big heavy thing on, and the burden, it doesn't make sense. So in Italy, the few places that do add pasta and meatballs together, usually what Italians do is they not only extend the meal where they have a pasta and then they have the meat that was cooked in the sauce. They have it in the same dish of the pasta after the pasta is done. So not only is it extended, but it's also, you get Christmas gifts, you open one at a time. If they do have the meatballs in the pasta, it's anywhere from, the size of an olive to the size of a grape, or maybe like a 50-cent coin. It's never that big. It's never that intrusive. And it's usually with like a sturdy pasta. So like a rigatoni or whatever. They do that in Puglia, but it's very small meatballs. And you could do with spaghetti fine, but again, they're very small. So they wouldn't put this big size thing on it. It's funny because the ingredient of spaghetti meatballs in America is meatballs. It should be called meatballs and spaghetti, because look, it's the first thing you notice are the meatballs. And then they say, oh, well, don't you like the taste of mixing it in? First of all, the tastes do go together, the meatballs and the pasta and tomato sauce. They say, oh, but they bring it to you, and then you can mush it up and you mix it together. If I'm paying the restaurant all this money, well, why don't you do it? Why am I doing this? So spaghetti and meatballs do go together taste-wise, but aesthetically, it doesn't need to be that big. Now, I want to say that because a lot of times people don't realize the points that they're making philosophically. They get stuck. They don't even realize the points that they're making. It's like the point you're really arguing is size. So you can have spaghetti meatballs. Just why not make it smaller? And once you realize that, you realize, yeah, gee, I'm getting stuck on the size. It has to be big. Just make it smaller. That's it. End of story. And now in Italy, the people have the burden of 3,000 years of history. Quantitatively, forget about qualitatively, but quantitatively, it's by far this culture has contributed the most. Like not even close. It's more than half. So you take all the countries together, and Italy still has more. So the kids, they don't want that burden. So what do? It's easy for them to eat Pringles, which they love. So now, not only are the Italian restaurants catering to American tourists with spaghetti meatballs, but the chefs, in order to do something different, they'd be like, oh, I do that too. They're doing all kinds of American stuff that was never even thought of. But historically, that was not the case. But, in a lot of ways, Italian people are going down while American culture is going up. So, but spaghetti meatballs, again, it's all about aesthetics. There's no need to have that big of a meatball on top of the pasta. It's okay to have it. Just make it small. Why not make it small? Why not? Size matters. Spaghetti meatballs.